Good afternoon. And now for today, the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Wednesday, July 7th, 2021, and the time now is 2:00 p.m. 2:01, correction. Notice for this budget hearing was disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice was issued on June 28th, that was Monday, and followed by Wednesday, June 30th, 2021. The committee will hear and accept testimonies on Bill 55-36 COR, the fiscal year 2022 Appropriation Act as requested by the Governor, relative to the CHamoru Land Trust Commission, fiscal year 2022 budget request. Joining me for this budget hearing is Majority Leader Senator Talina Nelson and Minority Leader Chris Duenas. Rules for this budget hearing is those testifying on behalf of the Bill 55-36 COR relative to the CHamoru Land Trust Commission have been invited. The panels are Mr. Joey Cruz and Angela Camacho. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee, and please provide my legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopying. Testimonies may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes, but Ms. Camacho, we allow you all the time you need. Hopefully it doesn't take all afternoon, but we'll work with you, okay? Those testifying will be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, please remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony as may be desired by members of the committee. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda, which is the fiscal year budget of CHamoru Land Trust Commission. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individuals testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the budget hearing room. Proper form decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for this proceeding. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be escorted or be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. You would please state your name and your title for the record. I will now ask the panel, Ms. Camacho and Mr. Cruz, if you can please stand up, and the Sergeant Armed will swear you in.
Kindly raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you all affirm that any and all information that you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Okay, Mr. Chair, you're under oath. You may proceed.
Thank you, Sergeant Arms. We're also joined by the Speaker, Therese Terlai, the Oversight Chair of the CHamoru Land Trust Commission. I'd ask Ms. Camacho if you can go ahead and present your presentation for your budget for 2022.
Good afternoon, Senators, Chairwoman of the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture, Speaker Terlahi, and Chairman of the Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriations, and Housing, Senator Agustin. Today, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission appears before you to present the Commission's FY22 budget request. The Commission's budget request will come from two special funding sources. First, $1,027,749 from CLTC's Operations Fund and $92,824 from CLTC's Survey Infrastructure and Development Fund, totaling an FY 2022 budget request of $1,120,573. In our budget request, CLTC is not requesting for any funding for prior year outstanding personnel service obligations. CLTC has processed all salary increments and other pay-related matters in a timely manner. Any prior year obligations that have been realized by the Commission will be settled with FY 2021 funding and will be settled before year end. As far as supplies and equipments are concerned, CLTC has been conservative and has identified a sufficient amount in our FY 2022 budget request for entire fiscal year. Also, CLTC does not project any capital outlay projects for FY 2022. Although we did budget for procurement of a server in FY 2021, and because the amount, it was classified under capital outlay object class. To my understanding, My predecessor has met with OTEC, and the procurement of a server will not be approved. In regards to federal assistance funds, CLTC has not been appropriated any federal assistance funds as of today. Although, if in the future CLTC should be a beneficiary of federal assistance funds, we will prepare a detailed budget and expenditure plan and submit immediately. Now, the million-dollar question. Does the Commission's FY22 budget request represent the true needs of the Commission? Yes, if we're focusing on operating at status quo. Although, if we're talking about expanding and offer more services, like the installation of water, sewer, and power, then the Commission's FY2022 budget request is insufficient. Please note that the Commission does not have the funding source to shoulder the expense associated with the installation of utilities. Although we did budget in the amount of a little over $49,000 to pay for surveys, and it would only account for a small fraction of the total properties needing a survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Camacho. That was short and simple. Ms. Camacho, are you aware of, any of your staffs aware that the 36th Guam legislature, this body had requested the governor under the American Rescue Plan that a total of $25 million be given to the CHamoru Land Trust, and that is to bring in long-awaited water, sewer infrastructure to CLTC properties to support the building of affordable homes for families and allow agriculture and economic diversification. This infusion of infrastructure to large tracts will encourage the development of affordable and permanent housing and assist with establishment of additional business activity in parts of Guam currently underutilized. Are you aware of that, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Has the governor reached out and said that she's going to give you at least close to that? I just thought I'd ask, even though she probably hasn't really stated anything.
I definitely would be open to any assistance. You know, I did mention to the governor that if there are any funds to be appropriated, we would put it to good use.
All right. And I'm thankful that you've pretty much answered all the questions I was going to ask you. I guess it works, right, when we have meetings, right, prior to the hearings. It helps you. But what I'm concerned about, is there any, I know you're pretty much status quo, and I'm not saying that, and I'm not going to promote to my colleagues that we try to figure out a way how to give you money, give you funds. But is there a little bit that you would like, and could you tell us where you would need it? Not a whole lot. I'm not asking you to ask for $1 million, but if you're going to ask for, you need funds to speed up the surveying and so forth, and help with the digitizing of all the lands, and tell me something and try to sell something to us. This is your budget hearing. You're not asking for anything, but it's always good if we hear publicly that you're asking for just a little bit and for these reasons. If you could please explain that, I would appreciate it before I ask your oversight chair to ask you questions. How come you didn't ask for money when you got a shot at it? Okay, so, ma'am, Ms. Camacho and Mr. Cruz, I know Joey's eager to say, yes, we need more money for this, but Ms. Camacho, I'd ask you first.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. We have been in discussion about how we can better serve the public, and it will entitle more money. So we acknowledge that. I'll let Mr. Cruz discuss what we have, what we are putting into play.
Good afternoon, Senators and Chairman San Agustin. Like Ms. Camacho had mentioned, there has been discussion about recruiting certain positions that would assist in our constituents in surveying properties prior to them being leased. One of the prerequisites prior to a lease being issued is to get it surveyed. In turn, the surveying of a property by the government would waive the 7-year exemption for our lessees. The subsequent year, CHamoru Land Trust Survey Infrastructure Fund would generate revenue, and so would the general fund. So
So how many, 2 surveyors or 1 or what?
we're looking at an additional 2 more warm bodies, an engineering aid 2 and an engineering aid 1. That would complement our 2 engineering technicians. We'll be able to have 1 full survey crew that would work under the supervision of the Chief of Cadastry with DLM.
That's a total of 6 people, right? You had 2 surveyors, 2 engineer aid, 1, 2 aid, 1, is it that?
Currently, we have 2 engineering tech 2s. We've discussed that we need 2 additional warm bodies, which is an engineering aid 2 and an engineering aid 1.
You want two more bodies, which is 1 engineer and 1 aide, right? What's
Both
it-
engineering aids, but one is a 2 and the other one is an engineering aid 1.
Okay, and what's the total cost you're looking at?
Roughly about, with benefits, about $80-some thousand.
Okay. Anything else that you would need to assist you guys? I want to see, Mr. Cruz and Ms. Camacho, I'd like to see the lands leased out. I'm on the list since 95, okay? For some of the folks that are not here, none of you that are here were even senators then, so we're not even going to discuss that part of any political role. But I was on the list, and Joey knows my case. We'll work on that, but I'm not concerned about it. But I want others that were on the list with me since 95. Get the land survey, get it out, get it producing, get our people settled. And anything else you would like to add to that, or just as those 2?
There are other positions that we would like to recruit. For example, we were exploring the option of creating a trust administrator.
What was it?
A trust administrator?
Trust administrator?
Yes. We were also discussing.
What's the cost? What's the cost for that person?
There's no position within the Government of Guam. It's one that has to be created.
And what would the estimated cost?
We estimated the annual salary about 70-some thousand.
Okay. Next, what was the next one? I'm just asking off the bat because the senators are listening and.
In
we'll be able to ask you.
addition, we were also looking at recruiting another administrative assistant position that will support our land administration division.
Cost?
Roughly 38,000 a year for
Right.
salary, not benefits, but just salary.
Understood. I like how you come up with the amount and you're pretty much, it's not 38.5, but it's close. Okay, go ahead, Joey. Anything else you're looking at? That's pretty much it then, right?
Oh, and 2 other positions, an agriculture management technician and
Agriculture and what?
an agriculture management technician and an agriculture management specialist.
Oh, okay.
Those 2 positions will fill our compliance section.
Cost?
Roughly 75, 80,000 salaries only
So total 150 for the 2, that's what you're saying, right?
for both.
Oh, for both, 75.
75, 80. 75 to 80,000
For both.
for both.
Okay.
They're entry-level positions.
So we're not even looking at $500,000. You're looking at you're looking about 350,000 estimate, right? Ms. Camacho is shaking her head, she's saying yes. So Joey, what do you think?
Yes, that's about correct.
Okay. And these are all entry levels, right? Other than I would assume the trust administrator, that would be somebody that'd be hired, that's somebody that's going to generally manage the program.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So everybody else is entry level. You're looking at the first 2 was, what was that again? It was
Engineering aid 1 and an
Engineering-
engineering aid 2.
which is basically a surveyor, right?
They're part of the survey crew.
Okay. Engineer 8-1 and engineer 8-2. Okay. And then we're looking at the trust administrator, and then we're looking at an admin assistant at 38K. And you took an agriculture tech and an agriculture
An agriculture management specialist
management
and an
specialist,
agriculture management technician.
technician.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you. I had to ask this because there's only so much movement that CHamoru Land Trust can do for the people of Guam that are waiting in line. And I like to see them move up the line. You don't have to rush for me. I want everybody else. Get your property so there's no more excuses. And only one more question is, has CHamoru Land Trust settled the issue? I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 4 years ago, the Attorney General's office said that you void all these leases that you had and restart. Has that been cleaned up already? Or you're cleaning it up still?
It's still in the process.
Okay, that's good enough for me. Madam Speaker, do you have any questions for the panel, ma'am? I think I kind of helped along your...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you both for being here and for the work that you did on the budget preparation. Can you just clarify, so your overall request is $98,000 less than your FY21 appropriation? Did you fully expend or expect to fully expend your FY21 appropriation?
No, ma'am.
You think you're going to have lapses?
We will.
Why is that?
For one, our administrative director position hasn't been filled. And
Go ahead.
Ms. Camacho has been detailed to be our acting administrator, although we're not paying for her salary.
I see. And are you able to use that to fund any of the other positions that you need?
It's insufficient. Our administrative director had, his employment had terminated May 7th. May, June, July. That's about 4 months left in the fiscal year. We have other expenses that had arisen. The commission is in the process of publishing other commercial properties to be designated and declared for commercial use. That's an increase in publication for us. The commission also has to complete a determination of need because of the lease term periods. We have to renew our notary services, which wasn't identified in our 2021 budget, but a notary is needed within the agency. There are other expenses that had...
All right, so you have some savings from the executive director position not being filled, but you have expenses that have also arisen, but you're saying you're still going to have lapses.
We will have lapses.
How much?
The definite figure I can provide you later.
Just an approximate. Are you talking about a few $1,000s or a lot?
Maybe about $10,000 maybe.
Okay. All right, because I'm not sure how we're going to be treating lapses in the upcoming budget, but okay. You estimated you're going to spend $29,000 for surveys in FY22. Can you just explain what do you spend that on? If the surveys are being done in-house.
Can you repeat that question, please?
You estimated, I thought in your presentation, that $29,000 would be spent in FY22 on surveys. This is a small fraction of the total properties needing surveys.
For FY 2022, we identified $49,000, a little over 49, for surveying services. We just submitted to your office a proposed residential subdivision schemes. We will, after more discussions, the commission will decide whether we opt for the services and pay for the services of Department of Land Management, if possible, for them to complete such a survey, or we go out through the RFP process and go through the private surveyors.
And so what will the 49 fund? Is it to pay a private contractor surveying services?
Either the private contractors or we pay land management for their services.
I thought you and land management had an MOU where you assist them with your techs on their surveys and they assist you on your surveys.
The MOU draft is in play. There is a draft, but it hasn't been finalized. Although we may have to procure equipment or something of that kind to assist with the surveying.
Okay, but you're not paying fees for them, their assistance, are you?
At this time, no.
Okay. Does the MOU, is that going to obligate you to pay fees?
I don't exactly remember if there's a dollar figure attached to it, but we can provide a copy.
Yes, please. Okay. Yeah, because my understanding is there's an arrangement. They need your techs, you need their surveyor, and that you guys have an arrangement to help each other. So if we, how many surveys do you expect this to accomplish? You're saying the one subdivision?
We hope that it would accomplish at least roughly 50 to 75 surveyed lots.
50 to 75 lots for fiscal year FY22. And if we gave you the 2 engineering aids, how many more would you be able to accomplish?
Maybe 50 more. I'm unsure of the exact time required to perform a survey.
Okay, because when we had our oversight hearing, we talked about at least larger tracts like 800 acres, you guys said. And 3 large tracts plus 800 acres, and that's much more than the 50 to 75 lots. So are we not expecting to get those subdivided in this time, in the FY22?
The 800 acres mentioned in our oversight hearing was acreage to be registered, land registered.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily mean that after they're registered, we were gonna go out and survey all 800 acres. We just presented that after consulting our attorney, the process or the cases that are in process for land registration is about 800 acres.
Okay. How can we survey more? If you get 50 with this 49,000 and you're able to do 50, if we give you 80,000 more, how can we get more surveys done in FY22?
Either we procure services outside or we employ more survey-related positions.
All right, because you had identified 3 tracts that you wanted to develop, right? Or to subdivide. So will those be taken care of with what we're looking at today?
The three parcels of property that we identified for residential subdivision, at this upcoming board meeting, we're presenting the board with 2 options related to affordable housing. One is the SUDA funding, which is either a grant or a loan, and the other is the possibility of private companies constructing the affordable housing turnkey. So if it's awarded to the private companies, part of the project specs would be that they would have to survey, go through the GOUC, and all the other permitting process. So that would include those lots who already be surveyed. So the commission wouldn't have to provide any surveying services for the affordable housing.
Do you have a legal opinion that those proposals are within the mandate of the CHamoru Land Trust, that they are consistent, I guess? The structure that you're going to be entering into with those private companies?
We will utilize the RFP process to award any contracts related to our affordable housing projects.
Is there any legal opinion right now regarding that, these proposals?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Did the commission, I remember back, I don't know how long ago, that the commission confirmed that it had requested reimbursement of the $320,000 for the survey and infrastructure fund that was transferred out. under previous administration. Have you received this money?
No, ma'am. There was a total in FY 2017, I believe, there was a total of a little over $600,000 that was transferred out through the application of GASB 34. We've requested for the reimbursement of those funds, but unfortunately, as of today, we haven't received anything. Although we are monitoring the due from the general fund, and recently we had submitted a letter to Director Byrne requesting the remittance of about a little over $500,000.
As reimbursement for this transfer?
That's related to fiscal years 2018 to 2020.
Is that related to the Survey and Infrastructure Fund?
The Survey Infrastructure Fund and the Loan Guarantee Fund. So the $500,000+ in receivables from the general fund is related to the Survey Infrastructure Fund and the Loan Guarantee Fund.
Receivables or reimbursement from what they transferred out?
It's a receivable from the general fund.
So that's new money, right? That's not talking about the money that they had transferred out of your accounts?
It's nothing related to the FY 2017
Yeah.
transfer out.
Okay,
no.
so they transferred out 320 in 2017, and you're saying that you're also requesting 500,000 in receivables that they haven't.
From 2018 to 2020.
Yeah.
For the two funds, yes.
Okay. Why is that delayed?
I can only assume it's a cash flow problem. I'm not too sure.
Okay, but these are special funds, right? Supposed to be, when the cash comes in, it's attributed to you. Okay. I think you testified today, operations would be at status quo unless we are, fund these additional positions that you request, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And with the additional surveyor, engineering aids, we can hopefully get more surveys of subdivisions, right? And the trust administrator, what's that going to do for us?
It would oversee the day-to-day operations. They'll have the responsibility of handling our independent financial audits, the review of the compliance section, oversee the land administration section.
Is that different than the executive director? In addition?
It's our middle management.
Middle management? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess the others are self-explanatory. So under the budget that you're proposing, you have no proposals to bring any water or sewer or power out to any properties, or even in the vicinity of any properties. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is there a reason why you're not asking for any money in that regard? Is there a reason why the trust is not asking for anything in that regard?
Our Survey Infrastructure and Development Fund is committed or restricted to the installation of infrastructure, utilities, surveying, and land registration. Our cash or our projected revenues for that fund will not meet the expenditures we may request for.
Okay, but aren't you expecting about 300,000 in that fund?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is that going to be used on operations, or is it going to be used for surveys and infrastructure?
In our FY 2020 budget, it will be used for surveying and to pay for our attorney fees. Our attorney handles all our land registration cases.
And you're paying him out of the SIF fund, not out of operations?
Yes, ma'am.
So the 300,000 that we're expecting in the Survey and Infrastructure Fund is only going to be allocated $49,000 for surveys and the rest for attorney's fees. Wasn't the CHamoru Land Trust exempt in the last budget from attorney's fees? For the AG's office? Yes, they were.
I don't remember.
Yes. I remember that very specifically. We added that to the budget because we are spending survey and infrastructure funds to pay for the Attorney General's assistance to the CHamoru Land Trust. And these are already attorneys that are covered under the Attorney General's pay scales. So, yeah, we want that money to go towards surveys and infrastructures, and we need these surveys to be done regardless of your SUDA. We need the survey. There's still properties that have been distributed to people that are not surveyed, that we're waiting for them to finish their survey. We still have other tracts that we can subdivide and hopefully get more residential leases out. I'm hoping that this survey and infrastructure fund's not going to go to any part of operations this time, and that it's going to be dedicated to what it's intended for. And Mr. Chair, so that would be about $300,000 based on last year's projections, right? And if it looks to me, if we might need to assist in the operations for 1 year, at least to get them to catch up, and then use these funds where they're supposed to go. And if we have an opportunity with the ARP funds to cover some of the survey and infrastructure, then that's different, right? Then of course, we're expecting to get surveys, water, power, whatever infrastructure you need out there so that they can develop and the entire surrounding areas can develop as well, businesses, anything that's needed. So 50 to 75 lots, okay. Okay, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna stop for now. If you could give me another round if I think of anything else, thank you.
Yes, we will. As a matter of fact, and that puts a lot of questions. Thank you, Madam Speaker, is that the reference to we need to figure out a way, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to word it in the Budget Act so that you can do what you need to do and that funds can't get transferred out of your account. Whatever's in your account is going to stay. Yes, Joe, you wanted to say something to that effect?
In relation to the fund transfers, we're currently in the process of reaching out, or we've inquired with different financial institutions. Because currently in our act, the commission should have custody of certain funds that were created through a certain section. So we're already addressing the concern of transferring money out and in whose custody. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, if you have it in a separate account, then nobody will access it but yourself. You just got to word it right. But I'm just curious, is that because as individuals pay for action done at CHamoru Land Trust, there's an account number, am I correct, that they have to put on, and when that goes to Treasurer of Guam, it circulates, that has to be deposited to that specific account. And then maybe there's just something going on there, but I think we just need to figure out, we'll come up with something to take care of you so that you can spend the money you need to spend. And you're right, Joy, when you mentioned, when it's special funds, if money doesn't flow, doesn't come in, then of course you're never going to get the money. It could be new money if it existed, but if there was no funds that went through the special funds, it'll always be zero, always be zero. So we'll just take a look at that. I'll have the analysts or the analysts take a double check and see how we can assist you on that. But with that, Senator Nelson, do you have any questions or comments for the panel?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here, Ms. Camacho and Joe. Has there been any development since the, can you hear feedback? Okay. Has there been any development as far as planning for sewer and water infrastructure to CLTC properties? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
There has been discussions related to planning and projecting the cost of the installation of sewer, water, and power. About maybe 3-4 weeks ago, we sent a letter to the utility agencies, GWA and GPA, requesting for a copy of their shape files. Their shape files will allow us to determine how far the nearest connection may be and how much it may cost us. There has been discussions, and there are some planning and projecting that are currently occurring at this time.
Would $25 million be sufficient to cover all the CLTC properties that is in the inventory? To include those that are currently been leased out?
It may. At this time, it's unknown.
Okay. Are you focusing on any areas in particular?
Initially, we're focusing on the lots that are unregistered. We have leases that were issued to lessees on unregistered property. That's the delay. They can't get a surveyed map. They can't construct a home. So our initial focus is on the unregistered properties.
Okay. And those already and just to be clear, the unregistered properties are properties that are occupied by families?
We have many leases that were awarded to our applicants on unregistered property.
Okay, thank you. It was mentioned by the oversight chair that the CLTC is paying the Attorney General's office for some kind of legal counsel. What exactly is that for?
We have an MOU between DLM, GALC, and CLTC with the Office of the Attorney General. So we split the cost of one attorney 3 ways.
Okay. I guess I'm wondering if that is already, if the Attorney General's office is already covered in the whole budget, why are you splitting a cost for an attorney 3 ways if the salaries are already in the budget?
I am unaware whether the Attorney General had included Attorney Toff's costs in their budget, although we are paying for his services.
Okay. And how much is that amount?
The commission, our share is about a little over $45,000.
Annually?
Yes, ma'am.
When do you project to have a draft plan forward to for the assessment of your infrastructure for the unregistered properties?
At this time, can we provide a potential or a projected date of when, as soon as we get the shape files? We don't know when the shape files will be transmitted to our office, but we will follow up.
Is there an additional cost to CLTC for that request?
At this time, none. We're not aware of any cost that's associated to our request.
Okay, and this is to GWA and GPA?
Yes, ma'am.
And you submitted it several weeks back?
About 3 weeks, maybe.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you would need to hire additional people in the CLTC. And these positions are entry-level positions, is that correct?
Except for the administrator position.
The trust administrator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so with these entry-level positions, what are you anticipating the position description will be and the job requirements? And I'm asking this because many times in the government we hire personnel that require additional training or do not meet the qualifications that the mainland would have for these specific positions. And so are you requiring them to have, and the way the position descriptions are written out is very vague and ambiguous, so you can practically hire someone with minimal qualifications to fill the position, or someone with minimal or no experience to fill a technical position. And so that's my concern, right? Is that what is your focus on for these specific position descriptions? Like your engineer aid 1 and 2, what is the position descriptions are you looking for in engineer aids 1 and 2? Like the qualifications?
From my knowledge or my recollection, the engineering aid 2 would require to have some sort of experience in performing field surveys. I can't provide the exact job description or the job taskings that will be done at this time, but we will forward you a copy of the proposed position descriptions as soon as it's completed.
Okay. Because to be an engineer aid, you should have some type of certification as well in the engineering field. And how about your agriculture management specialist and agriculture management technician? Those are highly specialized areas as well, right? So what are some of the requirements you would have for those?
We would consider that they have some sort of either agriculture inspection experience or education, but at this time also we can't provide exact details, but we'll provide a copy of the position descriptions.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have at this point for now, but I do want to thank you on beginning the process for the infrastructure for the unregistered properties. I'm excited to see, the plan, and if you need help in continuing to urge DWA and GPA to give you what you need, please let us know, and we'll continue to hit them every day. So I think if we bother them enough, they'll finally produce what we're asking for, perseverance. And so I hope that you get that sooner than later so you can develop your plan. And I'm excited to see this because there's so many families' lives that you will impact just by the work that you do. And so I really appreciate that. I appreciate the work that you do at the CLTC, and I hope you success. And if you need any assistance in our office, just let us know and we'll help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Senator Duenas, do you have any questions or comments for the panel?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple. A lot of detailed questions have already been asked. I'm just going to do some follow-ups. Good afternoon, Ms. Camacho, Mr. Cruz. I know that we spoke at length during the most recent oversight on the issues surrounding and the potential investments surrounding the $25 million, so I won't go down that road. I'm sure the oversight chair will schedule something else to get an update if that funding starts to materialize. Just kind of a follow-up on the request on your budget, as you mentioned, is basically a status quo budget, and the additional positions that you're requesting, Joey, are those currently in your staffing pattern?
The FY22 budget request, no, sir.
Okay, so these are additional positions you're actually adding to the staffing pattern for the 2022 request.
We'll submit a supplemental.
Okay, because I think that's essentially why Senator Nelson was kind of asking the parameters. I mean, obviously you have identified the positions. Do these positions exist within the DLM staffing pattern?
The agriculture specialist and technician exists within our staffing pattern. The land trust administrator, the trust administrator, the administrative assistant, and the engineering aid 1 and engineering aid 2 will need to be created.
Okay, so you'll be working with DOA on that, or you're doing it internally?
We'll be working with DOA.
Okay. Because I know that a lot of times the Department of Land Management positions, descriptions are generally, they're at times they can be interchangeable, having a similar, mandates, if you will. So you don't find those position descriptions within DLM.
They are available too, and we will also utilize their position description as we create ours.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that would be effective, and it's something we'd be able to review along with you as you develop that as well. So we would be budgeting those vacancies, but essentially they would be under development and wouldn't be recruited until the PD is established, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with the request, just to be clear once again, Ms. Camacho, in your presentation, you're really looking at utilizing the budget as per your special funds. There's no general fund request at this point.
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. So I think as I listen to the Oversight Chair, Madam Speaker, if in the event that it looks like, particularly under survey, you've budgeted for operational issues, things that expenditures outside of, maybe the scope of the design of the fund. And so if we were to have you do that and request more than the 49,000, then do you anticipate the revenues to grow in special funds, or would you need the appropriation authority, or would you need a general fund appropriation to kind of offset what you're currently using for operations?
The legislature can appropriate the receivable amount, which is about 300,000, up to, but not to exceed.
Okay. So I guess the biggest thing that we can do with working with the trust, and I don't know how much longer, Ms. Camacho, you'll be on detail. I guess maybe that's probably one of the first things we'll take up with the administrator when that position is filled. To come back in and see how we can realize, what the true intent of that, fund was for, in terms of the survey, in terms of being able to, because Mr. Cruz, you mentioned that, there are currently anticipated additional commercial properties that potentially may be up for lease, correct?
Yes, Senator.
And so in the anticipation of that potential revenue, what fund would that be deposited into if those leases were realized?
All commercial leases executed after October 2015, all revenues will be deposited into the Survey Infrastructure Development Fund.
Okay. And that's, I think maybe, and I'll work with the Oversight Chair, I mean, other than, what we should be doing and the potential realization of this 25 million, which certainly would handle a lot of that. I think going forward, and I look forward to when the new administrator is probably going to be my first question, is going to be to ensure that, as you said, Joey, going forward, there should be no ambiguity anymore in terms of what that money is to be used for, and to do it strictly associated with that, knowing the current land registration that's being done, your mandate really to execute moving forward on the cleaning up of the leases and establishing and issuing. That's all going to come along with the need to really use these funds for their designed intent. Now, I understand, you have operational needs. I mean, you're a standalone agency. I get that. And you have these agreements with DLM, which I think continue to be very productive for the two of you. But we have to really, I can't impart more, forcefully, I guess. Not a great term, I guess. But in terms of just ensuring that really we have to realize, and we have to stay committed to these surveys and to these infrastructure development, because we can go through and establish these leases and get all that stuff done, but it's meaningless if we cannot make the property usable, even at the most basic level, which is the survey, of course, and then of course the opportunity to make sure that infrastructure as it goes in, even if at some point what we realize, because I know you've gotten a number of subdivisions that you've got all your tabletops done and everything else, when the real surveys are done and it's actually recorded, at that point, some of this funding, as it grows in other commercial properties, I mean, you can amortize that development, because now you got real cash coming in than what this potential 25 million can realize. So just want to see if we can, kind of get that mindset set that these lockbox, these funds in a true lockbox. And Joey, I think you're right. You'll probably still be subject to DOA oversight and for auditing purposes and everything else, but the standalone accounts are sounding like what needs to happen. Once again, we'll work with the finance chair and the oversight chair to see if that's, the true direction. But I too want to share with what our other colleagues have said. I think we're in for some exciting times, particularly if the legislature's, desires for the ARP, at least in this area, are realized. And I think that I just hope that you're as excited at CLTC as we are, and moving forward to ensure that if that money became a reality, we could move quickly. So with that, Mr. Chairman, Sidus Masi, and thank you guys for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Duenas. Senator Brown, do you have any questions or comments for the panel?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to our representatives from the CLTC. With regards to the surveying, is this something you're going to conduct with Department of Land Management, or are you going to hire a professional land surveyor to do the work?
The options haven't still been decided yet, but those are the two options that we have. Either we work with DLM or we go out and procure some professional services to conduct the surveying.
Well, and the only way, also to avoid conflict with Department of Land Management, because they ultimately should be the ones to properly register these properties, because I've heard concern in the past that land maps that were executed for CHamoru Land Trust were not formally filed or completed and put in the record with land management. Proper identifications that are standard requirements for licensed surveyors. If they're hired to produce a map, there are requirements that they need to meet in their professional status, and there's been concerns raised that has not been the case. And as we know, we can't do all the other things we'd like to see accomplished with the land trust if we don't address this issue literally from the ground up and ensure that these land surveys are properly, not just, the field surveys being done, which I think is needed, because in the past there's some concern that some of it's been tabletop. And then you go out, lots are given, and then, find out that the recipients are not able for whatever reason to use that particular property. It could be in wetlands for all I know. But I think moving forward, we need to standardize that process to make sure that we can properly identify these properties, and when they're, handed over in the interim to the recipients, that everybody knows, what and where. We've had the continued issues of telling people, oh, you go out and survey your land, you hire your own land surveyor, and then we end up with overlap or disagreements about boundaries and things of that nature, that there's no consistency. So I think before lands keep getting handed out, we need to make sure that we have lands properly surveyed, registered, and then when people, receive it, they know what their boundaries are and where their requirements are to operate. So I think we should have a clear picture. That's something you need to discuss with your board, but I think we need to have a determination, because if you're doing it in-house with land management, you only have, how many registered land surveyors do you have at land management?
There's only one registered surveyor.
Yes, and that's the one person that ultimately will put the stamp of approval on those maps, right? That's a potential conflict. So I just think, having another professional land surveyor do the work, and then you have someone who's overseeing to verify, because there are so many issues already with properties at land management of overlap and inconsistencies involving land now already. If we go in and start cleaning through that mess, we'll be here beyond our lifetime to clean the mess up that has happened there because of either People just not following through or verifying. We've had land takings. I don't think that ended 30 years ago. I think those issues are still very much on the table today, and nobody's properly overseeing that whole issue. The other thing, you've asked for a number of positions, and I have to tell you, this is round 7 for me in the legislature. This is the most hearings I've ever heard in a budget. I need this, I need this, I need more people. And I don't know if that's the standard line. I understand that you guys are limited just looking at your staffing pattern. But in return, I think when you submit your listing with the specific positions to the chairman and the committee, if you can specify exactly what are the people of Guam getting for these additional positions, what is adding to the capacity of land management that you think these positions are so critically needed? What is the output? What are we going to get better than what we've gotten? Because you guys are at an interesting crossroads. There's been so much controversy with the land trust from day one. And I was there when they were protesting and yelling and screaming at members of the legislature, when Angel Santos was on the other side of the aisle about the need to implement the land trust. But unfortunately, even with the best of desires, we still have issues of concern. And I think we need to get beyond that and have some sense of confidence that the land trust is performing what it needs to do and is doing it above board, and that eligible recipients are, properly receiving their properties for either agriculture or residential, so we can all move forward. It seems like a very simple process, but when it comes to land and money, I don't know. People's ethics and everything else go out the window. And so there's a lot of cleaning up to do to have some sense of confidence from this community, including those who are not recipients of the land trust. But public resources are being invested in the land trust. That we should expect that. So I hope in your submittal you elaborate further what exactly is going to be added to the table. What are the people of Guam going to gain from these additional positions? One of your positions was a land trust administrator. What would be the exact duties of that person? Because I'm going to wonder, what does your director do then? I don't want a director on autopilot earning $70,000+ a year and not doing anything, and then creating another classified position that's really doing the work. What's the point?
The trust administrator will, like I mentioned earlier, handle all our financial audits, oversee the administrative, the land administration, and the compliance divisions. But we'll also provide the position description.
I think it would be good, because then what is your director going to do? That's what directors do. That's why they get appointed to these positions. I mean, gone are the days of, the nice big nameplate and I'm connected to so-and-so and I'm important. I mean, people expect more than that. We certainly do. So I'm a little concerned. Probably of all the things you've mentioned, that probably raises the biggest question mark in my mind, is that particular position, because I just think that conflicts with what should be the role of the directors overseeing. Your operations are not that large, I'm sorry, but right now you've got, 11 people?
Yes, ma'am.
Really? Really?
With a lot of work.
I understand. I
Yeah.
totally understand that, but you're overseeing 11 people. That is not insurmountable to me. I've never had an agency even this small. And especially, I understand there's enormous tasks, but I also would expect who's ever in charge of the land trust is going to have the capability and the breadth to do this work, and to oversee this work, and have background and expertise in this work.
Yeah, so what we're trying to
So
do...
I don't necessarily agree from my perspective that adding this position is as critical as boots on the ground, so to speak, that are actual, hands that are going to be addressing these issues and moving these leases along. I don't want to add to the bureaucracy out of what's been, excuse me, I understand you want to speak. I see you. But I just want to emphasize, with just 11 people, I don't need, I don't need so many on the top to be top heavy. I'd rather have those responsibilities under the oversight of a director that's assigned, because otherwise, what are they going to do in such a small agency? What are they going to do? You wanted to say something, Ms. Concha.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is we're really trying to address all the issues from the past, and in addition, be able to issue out more leases, which we know entitles a lot of things. So this is what part of the plan that we put together, so that we can accomplish all of this at the same time, as opposed to perhaps just concentrating on cleaning up the mess, and then we can't move forward.
Ms. Camacho, department directors do that all the time. That's nothing unique to the Land Trust Commission in running an operation. They inherit the past, they've got to address the current issues and plan for the future. That comes with the territory. So I'm not here to debate you. I'm just less inclined to be supportive of creating such an administrative position at $70,000+ a year on such a small operation in terms of personnel that's going to be overseen, and then also pay another $70,000 for another director to take up space. I just don't see where the benefit is to the community to do that.
I have a staff that's worked very hard since I've been there in the past couple of months, and this is again what we put together to support them.
I understand that, and from my perspective, I'm telling you as a policymaker what I would see as a priority. That's your view and your staff's view, and I appreciate that. But I also see a duplication of effort, because I'm going to want to know, what does the director do then at land management or at CHamoru Land Trust if you simply have 11 people here to oversee, and to me it's a duplication of administrative effort.
Okay. Anything further, Senator Brown?
No, but I think, Mr. Chairman, that these are real realities. I don't think we can sit around here and bandy about figures and expectations of continuing to staff left and right when we don't even know what the financial future of where we're going to be less than a year from now. And if it's not money that CHamoru Land Trust is generating, if additional money is required out of the general fund to fund their operations and do all these other things, I mean, I think we need to ensure accountability in that process. I want a lot of things too. I mean, I think we all do. And I think we are all challenged in taking over operations in the government, but that's where your leadership comes to bear. Because the things you're telling me is what I would expect a director to produce. I would expect you to be the one to do most of the talking this afternoon, to be quite honest. Even though you've been there for 2 months, I would expect you to be able to provide us the presentation. And not personal for you, I know you're just there in the interim. But yeah, that's an expectation that I would have of you as the director. I would want you to be maybe you are hands-on, but I would prefer that you elaborate and take the lead on that. You've
Noted,
taken on
Senator.
quite a big challenge in the interim. I don't envy you. I don't envy that, but there's an expectation. We simply want to see performance, especially when we're continuing to ask for more.
I'll speak with a level of confidence that there is performance today at the CHamoru Land Trust.
I look forward to it. I think when we see it, when it's demonstrated and it's consistent, and people out there are getting their land trust and they are getting it in the proper order, and there's no special benefits that are given to anybody else, and that things are properly following the process, then I'll be the first one to stand at the head of the line and congratulate you. But you've taken off a tremendous challenge of the land trust that's had tremendous controversy still within the last recent months. The fact that you're sitting there is an example of that controversy. So we have high expectations as well. And I'm simply, as always, being candid and direct about what certainly in my expectations are, what I think the public's expectations are for the land trust. So while we're asking for all these things, that's why I definitely would like to see a very clear explanation about what's being added and what benefit are the people of Guam receiving from any additional position. And it's not something just of you. I would ask that of any other department, and that's coming forward asking for more resources at a time when I don't, while we got all this federal money, it's wonderful, but this is very short term. And our realities are going to come knocking on our door relatively soon with regards to financial challenges that our government's going to be facing. So if we're going to want to add more positions, from my perspective, I definitely want to see more hands on the ground that are going to be direct benefit versus just creating another administrative position that I think the director of your agency should be able to do or handle. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to comment at this point on the budget for the Land Trust.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Joey and Ms. Angela, as I was the one that was asking the question about the position, provide me the update on your staffing pattern, and if you want to identify the position, we'll determine if we're going to fund it or not. Okay? And then just give it, and then when we get into our discussion, we'll determine. But please provide the justification for each one. Exactly as my colleagues have brought up, what is the bank? What are we going to get out of it? Okay, and that's what we're going to need. Senator, Madam Speaker, did you want to follow up, and then I'll close?
I would very much appreciate an opportunity to just ask a couple more questions. So I'm looking at your organizational chart in the budget proposal, and I don't see a compliance division. Is there one?
We have an updated organizational chart and also a functional chart, and we can provide a copy.
Okay, because I'm trying to put in these positions that you're requesting, and so you have, according to this, a program coordinator 3 who oversees, well, admin stuff, records management, admin, and then a land administrator, and then this one says land administrator proposed. Is it still, is that what you're going to fund in here, that it's vacant right now? Land
No.
administrator?
No, ma'am, the position title changed. Our updated organizational chart and functional chart was completed after we submitted our budget request.
So what is that going to be, the trust administrator? Or what?
Yes,
What-
ma'am.
Okay. So you've changed your organizational chart, but you haven't created the position yet. You're proposing, oh, it says proposed, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So what about the vacant land agent? On this chart, there's a vacant land agent. Is that the only vacancy you have? Are you trying to fill by the current budget proposal? Or you're not trying to fill it?
We have more vacant positions other than the land agent, but it wasn't included in this organizational chart. We have an updated organizational chart.
Okay, so how many vacant positions do you have?
We have a total of 14.
14 vacant.
Yes, ma'am.
And will the amount that you're asking for FY22 fund the 14 vacant positions?
Can you repeat that?
Will the amount that you're asking for, the 100, sorry, 786?
Do you have the same sheet as we have up here?
No, sir.
Ms. Vanessa, can you please provide them that? Because it'll identify in the far right column.
Oh, no, it's
You'll-
1.21, right? You have 1.2, no, 1019, that's what you said earlier. So for, 2022, you're requesting 1120, 1,120,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that cover the 14 vacant positions?
No, ma'am. The only thing that is covered in our 1.2 million budget request is the warm bodies.
How many?
There's 11 of us.
So 11, so you haven't even touched these 14 vacant?
Yes,
That-
ma'am.
That would be the ag management tech and the ag management specialist is included in those 14 vacant?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you not need any of these employees? Well,
We-
except for the ones that you've specified today?
We do. It's just we were being conservative and trying to stay within reach
Okay.
of what we could afford.
So you've stated your priorities, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I understand, and hopefully when we get this all in writing, it's going to really help, I think all of us to really, but my biggest concern with what we are discussing today is that I want to know, and I think for the CHamoru Land Trust, it's something that we can really try to predict what our outcome is going to be per fiscal year. So I'm looking at, this is, I don't know, like page 5 of your budget proposal, where you say workload output, right? It's the front of the decision package. It says workload output. So you're predicting 85 surveys, 60 residential leases, and 60 agricultural leases. And when I saw that, I mean, I'd like to see that flushed out, but I asked you at the oversight hearing, and I really want to see, when you say you're going to prioritize, the properties that you've prioritized, the 8 parcels that that are pending land registration. I want to see what other land's going to be registered this year, right? And which ones are your priorities? I really want this in writing. And how much it would cost to get those surveyed if they're not yet, right? Every land that's surveyed should be registered, right? You should follow through. The AGs told us they're taking care of your registrations without any, that's a priority for them. That's what they said. So that's why I want you to put it in writing, put down when you expect that to be completed so that we can monitor it. And put in writing, how many surveys do you expect to accomplish, especially, and what lots are they? Are we talking about lots not yet assigned, or as you spoke earlier, the unregistered properties already leased, right? So I really want that to be put in writing and specific, because you said we can only do 50 to 75, and your output sheet here estimates, what was it, 60? Yeah. No, 85 surveys, yeah. Okay, so that's consistent, but I want to know which ones, right? And then I want to know, where does the 49,000 go in all of that mix? And if you were able, this is the big part, to take control of the Survey and Infrastructure Fund for survey and infrastructure, how many more surveys can you do, right? We've never even talked about estimates about how to bring water in. You're supposed to be talking with GWA about that, right? And being ready with your big tracks that would be ready to bring in. And then you talked about, you're going to take a couple of these parcels. I think you described them in the oversight hearing to have 160 potential lots. I'm not sure if that's the same property, but there's some property that you said today you're going to address in the next meeting regarding SUDA. And that's very different. That's why I'm asking if you have, what you have in regards to that. But does that, get prioritized, and do you depart then from completion of these other surveys, subdivisions, and leases? Like, for example, you were supposed to lease out the land for the landless. I think that was Senator Nelson's bill that provided that those land for the landless, give them a deadline, and otherwise we're converting them over to CHamoru Land Trust. That was her bill. That was several years ago. We're still waiting for those leases to go out. So if you could put in writing this output production or projection, we would be much more able to follow and to keep kind of tabs and praise the progress, I think. And I want to praise progress in terms of residential leases. I've told you this so many times. That's what I want to see. I think that's the priority now. It's the priority need, and I want to see that addressed, and I don't want to be diverted in any way from that, Mr. Chair. Yeah. So if we have to, if you get control of your survey and infrastructure fund, your operations are going to be short $300,000. Because currently you're using this for operations, right? You said for the warm bodies? No?
Our warm bodies are being funded out of our operations fund.
Oh, then that's fantastic. So you have $313,000. So why are you only estimating $49,000 of surveys?
We are being mindful of our revenue collection for our survey infrastructure fund. Currently, there's only 2 active leases that is the funding source for that fund. It equates to about a little over $10,000 a year.
So you're only estimating, so in FY21 you estimated 313,000, or we estimated 313,000. For FY22 you're estimating only 92,000 to be received for the Survey and Infrastructure Fund.
That would include the receivables due from the general fund. We're anticipating they'll
500,000.
at least remit 90-some thousand dollars
But you're owed 500,000.
for two funds.
Oh, okay. How much are you owed for the survey and infrastructure?
I believe it's a little over $200,000.
Okay. And so then I'd like to see the plan of what will be done with the 200, right? Just so, that's the one I really want to keep track of, the 200, all your survey and infrastructure funds, how you're allocating it, how the board is prioritizing, how that be spent. And so we can celebrate at the end of FY22, we did what we said we were going to do, right? And this was all we could do with this money. And that way we know if we give you 100,000 more, we're going to get this much more product, right? And I really think I would like to treat the Chamorro Land Trust that way. Like we need product, and we need, you know, it in writing, and we need to be able to come back periodically and check how far we are with that, you know, with that. And if there's any, of course, I think you can do this. I know you can, and so I just want to make sure that we can follow the work that you are doing. Situs Masi. Thank you,
for
Mr.
your
Chair.
support, Senator. Speaker, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's all for the questions from my colleagues. The committee will conclude this budget hearing. The committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, second floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive. Jesus Masi for your attendance and participating in today's hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching this budget hearing on Bill 55-36 COR relative to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission is now adjourned. It is now 3:24. Please be safe and take care. Thank you.